everyone, and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Friday, October 1st, 2021, and this is episode 195. My name is Carol. My Ravelry name is Knits and Pearls, and I'm coming to you from the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. Yes, it's October, and all of a sudden it feels like October. Yesterday we had really heavy rain for a good part of the day. And then today, even though it's sunny, there is a definite nip in the air thanks to the fresh new snow on the mountains. I always say when there's snow on the mountains, we feel it down here on the valley floor. My voice sounds, I think, a little rusty, and I'm feeling a little bit rusty because it's been over 2 weeks since I last recorded. But hopefully as we get into things, everything will kind of smooth out. It usually does once I get in the rhythm of recording. I was away last week, and then I had an appointment Wednesday, which is when I normally would have recorded, and then yesterday, for various reasons, I decided not to, and so here I am today with a couple of finished projects to share with you, and also a couple of works in progress, one of which is something I've kind of roused out of hibernation, and I did that yesterday and have just been so enjoying working on it, so I can't wait to share that with you. So yeah, settle in, maybe grab a project to work on and something to drink, hot or cold, depending on where you are and how you're feeling. For the second day in a row, I have made myself a latte out of David's Tea's pumpkin chai, and it just tastes like fall, as all those pumpkin spice things do. Now I know there are very strong views on the whole pumpkin and pumpkin spice flavors. Personally, I really like them. I've been drinking this, and then on Wednesday I was in the mall and couldn't resist picking up a pumpkin scone from the bakery. It's a good thing I don't go to the mall very often because I find it really hard to pass the bakery without buying something. So anyway, I'm going to take a sip of this, and then let's get into things. I especially like this flavor as a latte, just with the milky taste to go along with it. Okay, first up, these are my heel-toe do-si-do socks. This is a pattern by Kay Litton, also known as the Crazy Sock Lady, and she also has the Crazy Sock Lady podcast here on YouTube. I knit these for the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Nature Make Along. The theme for the last quarter, the third quarter, was sea, but could encompass anything related to water. So I chose to knit these socks out of Fiber Nymph Dye Works Mountain Tweed base, and this is the River Rocks colorway, so it definitely fit in. And then I had a mini of her plain vanilla colorway, which is basically undyed yarn, and used that for the coordinating heel. I cannot tell you how much I love this pattern and love how these socks turned out. So I had seen someone else's project in the thread for this Nature Mel, and decided right then and there, even though I'd seen this pattern before, it was her project that really inspired me to buy the pattern and cast on my next project with it, and I couldn't be happier. It's a very simple 2-row pattern. One of the rows is more or less just plain stockinette, so there's not a lot of thinking and counting. It just makes it a little bit more interesting than plain stockinette, and I just think it adds just a great, it just does something to these stripes that just really take them up to a next level. So as you can see, you start with a 1x1 twist. Try saying that. It's a tongue twister. Tongue twister. This starts with a 1x1 twisted rib, goes into the chevron pattern down the front of the sock, But the back of the sock is just plain. Has a slip stitch heel flap, traditional heel flap gusset, and a rounded toe. I have to say, actually, after I cast them on, did the cuff, and then started the pattern, I didn't actually refer to the pattern again, but when I took a look at it just before I recorded, I didn't look at how the heel's done, but I noticed the toe was exactly how I knit my toes. So it's more or less true to pattern. So yes, I just love, love, love how this pair of socks turned out. And I'm looking forward to casting on my next pair of socks for the Nature Mel. The fourth and final quarter starts today. So in a little while, I'll show you the yarn that I am going to wind up and cast on sometime. Probably won't get to it till this evening. But yes, love, love, love. Can't say enough good things about both the pattern and this yarn. Like, look at those colors. I just love it so much. It's one of my, well, I should say that. I think a lot of times I feel like, oh, these are my new favorite, but these are definitely my new favorite. So another project that I finished is my Night Shift by Andrea Mowry. And here it is. It's kind of too big to fit all in the screen at once. But I'll hold it up here while I talk about it for a little bit, and then I'll show you a good look at all the colors. So I knit this out of 6 colors of Cascade 220 Superwash Wave, which, oh, as you can tell, is a superwash yarn. Hello, it's there in the name. It is a worsted weight yarn, and it has sort of slow color changes. Some colorways are more monochromatic than others. Some, like the second color I used, Unicorn, has lots of color changes. So I wrote them all down. I'm going to just go through them, and then I'll show you a good look at it. So I started out with color 117, which is Grapes. Went into 113, Unicorn, with the grapes. And then there's color 118, Petunia, with grapes. The next one is 114, Spring, with grapes. And then 116, Deep Sea, with grapes. And then the part of the next section is 105, Blue Green, right here, with the grapes colorway. And then you move through various combinations of the different yarns, and it ended like this. One thing I really like about this pattern is that it has this nice I-cord edging on both sides as you knit, but then also you bind off with this I-cord, and so you have this nice I-cord edge that runs all the way around the shawl. I think that's just such a nice finish. It turns out when you cast off, you kind of knit it, you think it's going to be an asymmetrical triangle, but because of the number of rows, actually when you cast it off, you end up with more or less a symmetrical triangle. So that's from the tip down. Must go get the phone. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've actually been gone and come back home again. My grandson wasn't feeling well, so I went and picked him up from school. Anyway, I think I've said everything about this shawl that I wanted, except to say that it had a little bit of a happy accident, I think. So if you go onto my Ravelry project page, you'll see the yarns all laid out in the order that I planned to knit them. And then when I wound them all up and I put them in the box that they came in, and I was pulling from them, and I think what happened is when I put them back in the box, I mixed up the 2 colorways, this grapes colorway and the petunia colorway, which is what I ended with. And so I knit grapes as color 1 the whole way through instead of color 3 as I had planned. And I knit the petunia color as color 3 instead of 1 as I had planned. But I actually really am glad I did it. I like the pop of color here at the beginning, and I like the way that the darker color kind of ends off the shawl. So all in all, I'm happy with how that ended up turning out. Now, I know in the pattern, Andrea Mowry is modeling it like this. And this is just way too big for me. Like it comes down, you know, past my waist kind of thing. I do not ever anticipate wearing it like this. I think I am more likely to wear it just like this, probably just around the house. It's a nice warm weighty kind of shawl, quite thick with the kind of double stitching, and so yeah, I anticipate that I'll probably just usually wear it wrapped around my shoulders. If I wanted to sort of stabilize it, I could put a shawl pin here in the front just to keep it where it needs to be. I actually was thinking about wearing it during this podcast, but it has it's not as cool outside as I had thought it was, and I've been quite chilly here in the house earlier, but I would find this too warm, so I'm going to take it off now. You'll notice I actually changed my t-shirt so it would match this shawl if that's what I'd planned to do, but I think I'll just drape it back here for now. And then if I need it, I know where to find it. Okay, on to works in progress. So I have another pair of socks that I've had on the go since the beginning of September. Actually, I didn't cast them on, my daughter did. She was looking for something to knit while they were here for dinner. They are a pair of socks that will be for my husband, and they are being knit out of the Paton's Kroy FX in the Cadet colors colorway, which I've determined is 57110. There are so many numbers on these labels, but I'm pretty sure that's the colorway number. So this is like the yarn that won't die. I don't know if that's a good way to put it or not, but so I had knit a pair of these socks out of this yarn for my brother-in-law last Christmas, and I needed to purchase an extra skein to finish them off because he has kind of wide feet, so I needed to add some extra stitches around, plus his feet are long. So I ordered, instead of ordering just one skein to finish it off, I figured, well, I'm not going to use a lot out of the third skein. I'll order an extra skein so then I can make a pair of socks out of the 2 extra skeins. But what I wasn't thinking about at the time when I gave this to my daughter to cast on is that my intention was, knowing that one of the skeins would be, I think it was 5 grams light. My plan had been to make a pair of socks for someone like myself, a woman's pair anyway, and start them from the toe up to make sure I had enough yarn. So not really thinking about that, I just gave her the yarn, she cast them on, and then I realized I wasn't going to have enough. So what I thought is I'll just get another skein and I'll do the heels and toes out of the new skein. So then I went to my local yarn shop, pretty sure they carried this yarn, and couldn't find the colorway. Like, this is the skein here. They had a whole bunch of the Kroy FX, nothing that looked like this. So I thought, well, maybe what I'll do is I'll pull out a skein that would match, but even if it's not the same, at least it will complement it. So I pulled out this skein, and then lo and behold, it's Cadet colors. Looks nothing like the original Cadet colors, as you can see. Every skein looked like this, but it does complement it because it does have a lot of the same colors in it. It's just that the new ones are very light. And so as you can see on this sock, the heel and the toe, they look different, but you know, they coordinate even if they don't, you know, exactly match. Um, they also look really big on the sock blocker, although I did compare them to another pair of kind of sport weight socks that I've knit for Cameron, and they look about the same. So yeah. Anyway, what I did is I cast on 64 stitches. Normally I would do 72 for him. I did and I did a 2.5 millimeter. Normally I would do a 2 millimeter, like with a fingering weight yarn. So that seems to have worked out well. So yeah, really interesting. And like here's the skein that's not wound up. So you can see how very different it is. So my plan is to then do the heels and toes for the other sock out of this skein. And then I will have 2 matching skeins, which will both probably end up something like, let me see here. I used about 4 grams for the heel, so say another 4 grams for the toe. I'll probably end up with 2 skeins that are about 42 grams instead of 50. And this pair I will cast on, work from the toe up, and do a woman's size sock. So yeah, this will be, but whenever I get around to this, it'll be the 3rd pair of socks out of this yarn. That is not like me at all. I do not enjoy repeats. But what do? There was no point just buying one, because then I'd end up with a whole bunch with nothing to do with it. So it only made sense to buy 2, but I did yesterday cast on the 2nd sock and get it going. So that's where that sits. I'm just going to move this over here with the other one. Okay. So I'm really happy to have picked up a project that I cast on last January, and I knew it had been a while. I was really surprised to hear that it was that long ago. So I have been itching to, well, cast on a sweater for a while. And so I'm just looking for a yarn label that I knew I had here. Did I put it on here? No. Okay, I have no idea where it is, but I see there's some there. Not that it probably matters, but now I'm wondering what I did with the yarn label. Well, okay, Carol, get on track here. So, yes, there's a right there. Sorry, guys, and it's probably rattle on top of it. So last January, I saw this sweater in the Knit Picks catalog and loved it, and went looking through my stash for a suitable yarn. And I had this beautiful green Queensland collection rustic tweed, and this is the color 904. And when I looked, I think it was on Ravelry, it's called Donegal Green, or Green Donegal, I think. Yeah, Green Donegal. So it's this lovely, I love this shade of green. It's not quite as bright as this. It's not quite as olivey as some of the things I've been buying lately, but it's kind of that appley, kind of acid green. So I had started, it's knit with these, you start at the top and you end up incorporating these, what do they call them? Saddle shoulders, I think they call them. You incorporate that here, and then you put the stitches on hold, you work down the yoke, you join it in the round and work your sweater down, and then you pick up along here and along the sleeve edge and knit the sleeves out from there. So I had gotten to the point where I had put the saddle shoulder stitches on hold, and then I'm not even sure why I put it down, but I did. So I picked it back up yesterday and just have been enjoying working on it so much. This is probably I don't even know. I have a thing on to mark front or back. I'm not sure which, but the cast on was back here, so maybe it's the back. In any case, this is how it's coming along. So there you can see that saddle shoulder portion. And that goes partway down the sleeve. And I have just started working the increases for this area here. You do that for a few rows, and then I think you must work some more cabling, and then eventually go to a textured pattern. I'm just thinking, okay, now this is really silly because I also had my sample. I probably left it on the coffee table. I'm gonna go grab it because that'll give you a really good idea of what it's going to be moving into. So I'll be right back. Okay, it's official. I'm losing my mind. I looked everywhere for the swatch, could not find it. Finally found it right in front of me under my show notes book. So that was where the label was too that I was looking for. Anyway, here's the swatch, and you can see this kind of broken rib at the bottom, and that is what the yoke will eventually give way to. And that'll be the rest of the sweater will be this broken rib pattern. So yeah, I think it's really pretty, and I'm loving how it's coming along so far. So I've been enjoying that. So that is it for what I'm working on now. I have a number of projects kind of in my radar. The very first one that I kind of referenced earlier is I'm going to cast on another pair of socks for the Fiber Nymph Dye Works mystery, or not mystery, nature make along, nature Mel. This is the mounted tweed BFL base once again, and this is the purple finch colorway. And I received this as part of the Backyard Birdwatchers Club. And I saved it for the last quarter because the theme is sky. So anything associated with the sky, including things that fly in it. So anxious to get this wound up and cast on. And I will, I think, probably just do these up the way I've done the other Birdwatchers Club socks, which is just to knit them plain and use the complementary yarn for heels and toes. Probably a short row heel. So yeah, looking forward to that. So I'll line those up later. Another thing, I meant to print it out, but I still haven't. The next shawl in Helen Stewart's Shawl Society 5 came out, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and I've yet to begin it. It's called the Veranda Shade Shawl. I'll put a picture in here so you'll see what it looks like. Part of what's standing in my way is I haven't decided what yarn I'm going to use for it yet. One set of yarns I have been considering are very similar to some yarns I used for her, can't think of the name. It was a past mystery shawl. I didn't knit it as a mystery. I'll put the name here, and if I have a picture of the shawl, I'll put it there too. And I'll just grab those yarns and show you why I'm a little bit hesitant. So when I first saw this pattern, the first thing I thought of with the diagonal diamond lines was one of those latticed trellises that you grow roses on. And immediately I thought of these yarns with the pinks and the greens. And then I even have some of this left over from my swallowtail sweater. It's the same yarn in this bright pink. This is maybe throwing it off. It's not as, oh, it looked really good there. It's still not as red as it shows. It's more burgundy, more like that maybe. Further back I have it, the better, but it's still getting blown out. Anyway, trust me, it's a deeper color than it appears, and it goes really well with these two. And I thought I could incorporate it in. And again, my only hesitation is that it looks like a really similar shawl to one I've already knit. On the other hand, I think it would be lovely, and who's to say, you know, I have to keep it or have to keep both. So I suspect this is what's going to happen. Just hasn't happened yet. So we'll see. That's sort of one of those in the back of my mind things. Another is I have needed a new pair of felted clogs forever, and I have had the yarn forever and laid it out forever, and I still haven't knit those. It'll only take me a couple of days once I actually make up my mind to do it. So I think the lighting keeps going dark to light, and I don't know how to fix it. Just bear with me. Anyway, yeah, I really have to get around to casting those on and making them. So that's in my radar coming up. I had to warm up my latte when I got home. And then another thing that's on the to-do list, kind of speaking of my grandson, so back in the summer, he started out the conversation by asking me if I could make knit things that were 3D. And then my daughter sort of said, well, yeah, you know, I've made this doll or this stuffed toy or whatever it is before, but that wasn't what he meant. And what finally came out is, I think it's a YouTube thing called Virtual Riot, and there's this logo that he wants me to incorporate onto a scarf, a gray scarf. And so I said I would do it for his birthday. So I thought this was pretty good because I had no idea what he was talking about. And this is what he drew for me to describe it. And when I went looking, you know, once I got going, I could see he definitely had the right idea. And so he definitely wants it gray. And I think I measured his wingspan, so I'll make it that length. So I still have to sort of figure out what I want to do for it. I know if I just do a stockinette scarf, it'll roll. I could maybe look at doing a tube scarf. So you know, get a finer yarn, just knit it in a tube and join the two ends together, and that would be a double thickness, and I could hide all of my ends inside it. I could just knit it and then duplicate stitch this on it, which is kind of where I'm going with that. That's probably what I'll do. In any case, I need to figure out what yarn I want to use and get that, and do a little bit of trial and error to find the right number of stitches and things like that. Once I do it, it's probably going to be a little bit boring to knit. I've kind of resigned myself to that. A gray scarf, plain gray scarf with only the logos on the ends, probably not going to be exciting, but I love him and I'm willing to do it for him, and hopefully he likes it and hopefully he wears it. I sort of thought, well, maybe would you like a hat instead, but he definitely didn't want a hat instead. He figured he'd wear a scarf more, so fair enough. Let me see. Yeah, so that's sort of the things that are in the fairly new future. In addition to the yarn that I bought to finish up Cameron's socks, there's also been a few other acquisitions that happened in the last couple of weeks. So I also picked up a couple more skeins of the Kroy Socks FX. This is the Cascade Colors colorway. And I also think that I've knit this colorway before, but in a much more saturated version. but I thought those were pretty with the greens and blues and browns. And then I discovered that my local yarn shop also carries the Cascade Superwash wave yarn that I used for my night shift and also used for my latest scarf that I wove. So at the time I showed you that, I mentioned that I thought the next time I would like to just use that yarn as the warp and then use a solid yarn as the weft. So I picked up this skein of the Superwash Wave. This is color 111 and it's called Nightshade. Actually kind of goes nice with my top, doesn't it? And then I picked up this yarn, this skein of 220 Superwash, and this is color 803. It's called Royal Purple. And so I'm going to warp with this and then weave with this. So I thought those would look really nice together because it's got that purple in there. So I'm anxious to try this out. I have several things I want to put on the loom, so I'm not sure if this will be the next one or if it'll be, you know, fall somewhere behind some of my other choices. I'm definitely spoiled for choices at the moment. I also ended up getting a new knitting bag, and this kind of brings us into what's been going on in my life since we last spoke. So, been away and home again and away again and home again since then. So the first thing we did was spend the weekend as part of a golf trip that Cameron takes every year. So he realized this is his 14th year, and it's a group that got started with some people that my brother-in-law worked with. And over the years, they brought different people in and other people have left. So normally they golf in June. Last year, they postponed it to the fall because of COVID. And then because they had such low numbers, they invited the wives to join them. Not to golf, but to have dinner with after and spend some time. And so sort of the same scenario again this year. And so I ended up going up with my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. We went up early Friday morning, and we had to pass right through the town where Cameron's been working. So we met him there for breakfast, and then I hopped into Cameron's car and we carried on our way. It's about an hour and a half, or about an hour and 15 minutes east of where he's been working. And so on Friday, my sister and I did a little bit of shopping, drove around, and then on Saturday we took a drive. Also, we did a bit of shopping, and when I say shopping, I'm talking about like stores that have like lots of knickknacks and things like that, just because they're fun to look through. And then we did a bit of wine tasting. So on Saturday, I actually bought a purse at this one place that we went to. And I had looked at this bag that I thought would be perfect as a knitting bag, but I had already kind of splurged on the purse and thought I really shouldn't buy both. And honestly, I was feeling more like I needed a purse than a knitting bag. But then I kept thinking about this bag because I knew it would be perfect. And my old knitting bag, it's synthetic material, and all the colors rubbing off around the handles and stuff. It's starting to look kind of tacky. So on Sunday, the guys' golf game got rained out. And so the four of us, my sister, brother-in-law, Cameron, and I ended up doing some wine tasting. And we stopped off in this store that we had been in the day before. And I picked up my bag, my knitting bag, and then we went, did some wine tasting. So this is it. Like, look how great that is. It's this beautiful red. It's a little bit more pinky red showing on screen. It's really a true, kind of maybe a scarlet red. Anyway, it's gorgeous. My favorite color is red. It has this really pretty lining fabric. See if you can see that. Isn't that gorgeous? And what's neat about it, it's a bag within a bag. So it has this center bag that clips into it. So it snaps in with these leather, or they're, I don't think it's real leather, but snaps in. So you pull it out, and then it comes with this strap that you can, if you wanted to, could strap in here and use as a shoulder bag. And then it also inside, so you can use the bag inside and have different sections, or you can just have it wide open like that. It has these two pockets on this side, and then it has a zippered pocket here, kind of a pouch pocket here, and another zipper pocket here. So you can carry all sorts of things. And then it also has this little one on the outside that's attached. You can, undo it if you wanted to. So I just thought it was perfect. This is the kind of bag I would take if we were going away, even up to the cabin. And I would hold my knitting projects, my iPad, my book, my charge cords, my camera, any of those kind of things. It's just a great carry-all, and yet it looks really, really nice too. So I'm really glad we went back, and it wasn't cheap, but it was definitely worth it. And if I use it half as long as I used my other one, then it's definitely gonna be worth it. So I was happy with that. So on the Monday, Cameron had to work. So he stayed over Sunday night, and he got up and went to work from our hotel. And then my sister, brother-in-law, and I had planned to golf that morning in the town where we were staying. But unfortunately, we couldn't get a tee time. And so we ended up driving to the town where Cameron's been working. And he and I have golfed that course a number of times over the years. And we always said we should get together with my sister and brother-in-law there and golf together, because they vacation every summer in the town where we were staying. It would have been easy to kind of meet there for a day, and we've never done it. And so we decided to golf there. So we played golf, and then they dropped me off at Cameron's work. He had to work for about another hour and a half or so. So I just killed some time, read my Kindle, and waited for him to finish up, and then he and I drove home from there. So it's a couple hours from where we live. Stopped for dinner on the way and such. So that was a really nice weekend getaway. And then he worked here locally for Tuesday and Wednesday. And then Wednesday night we headed to the cabin. We had a big work party planned. We had some work we were doing on our water system. And so been planning it since last year. Finally, the date arrived. The weather cooperated, thankfully, and the main work was finished up by Friday. And there was a little bit of stuff to finish up Saturday, and then we readied the cabins for winter, winterized everything on Sunday morning, and then headed home. So while the guys were working, us women, we took care of all the meals. Well, that's not quite true. I'm lying. It was basically bring your own breakfast and lunch, but 4 of us divvied up responsibility for all the dinners and brought the food and prepped for those things. And then while we were doing that, we had some different cleanup projects around the cabins to do. So everyone was very busy. I got tons of steps. One day I got over 20,000 steps in. I found out an interesting way. All of a sudden, just heading to bed actually, and my Fitbit vibrated, and I looked down. I had fireworks like you do for 10,000 steps. So I learned that, wow, if you do 20,000 steps, you also get fireworks. I know I have gotten more than that in a day before, but hadn't noticed the fireworks. And it's not often that I've had that many. So then let me just think. Yeah, we came home Sunday. Oh, and then, oh yeah. So I got to back up because No, I'll tell you after. So Sunday, we ended up going over to one of my sister's place to do fall birthdays. And we normally get together in the spring and the fall and and the winter and do birthdays in bunches. So it was fall birthday time, and so this time, often it's been a big family affair. This time we just stuck to our the uh, my sisters and I and their spouses, and just did appies. Just had a nice little wrap up because all but one of us had been at the cabin that weekend. It was just a nice way to kind of just wrap up the weekend. And then Cameron ended up heading back out of town Wednesday morning. He comes back tonight. So just a shorter trip. They've just hired what will hopefully be the last person they need. Hopefully he stays, and then they'll have a full staff. And once they're all trained, he won't have to go up there so often. So he might still in the next couple of weeks have to go up there now and then to make sure the manager gets some time off. But it's getting closer. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. So just cross everything you have that this is the end, because it's been about 5.5 months now we've been dealing with this. Him more so than I, but of course, but yeah, we just want our lives to get back to normal. Wednesday I had to go to the dentist. I need to have a crown replaced, so they took off the old crown and they've put in a temporary one, so I have to go back in 2 weeks to get that finished up. It's fine, it doesn't hurt or anything. It's just one of those things that needed doing. And then really exciting is tomorrow and Sunday, there is Knit City Mini, or Mini Knit City. I think it's Knit City Mini happening anyway in Vancouver, where the previous Knit Cities have been held at the Forum on the Peony grounds in Vancouver. And Jessica and I are heading in for the afternoon time slot. So what they're doing, they're not holding classes. There is a marketplace, but you have to get tickets in advance, and you are only allowed in for specific time slots in order to be able to hold it safely. And so there'll be a limited number in each time slot. You have to have proof of vaccination and wear a mask the whole time. And so it sounds like they're doing everything they can to make it a safe event. So I feel, comfortable going. And so Jessica and I are going to drive in for the afternoon tomorrow. It's really hard. You're like, okay, which do you choose? If you go the first thing Saturday morning, maybe it's the busiest, but at the same time, maybe that's the best stock. If you wait till Sunday afternoon, it's probably the quietest, but maybe you don't have as good of choices. We just kind of decided on Saturday afternoon being maybe a happy medium. So that's kind of fun. I have absolutely no idea what I'm even looking for, and that could be dangerous. When I've gone before, I have had at least some idea of what I'm hoping to find for specific projects. This time I'm just going wide open. So I'm either going to end up with a lot of yarn with no idea what to do with it, or very little yarn because I don't know what to do with it. I apologize again. My screen anyway keeps going dark and light, and I hope yours isn't, but I have a feeling it is. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the lighting, probably. Thinking of how cold I was this morning around this house, and now I'm getting rather warm sitting here, so I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, so that's it for what's been going on around here, which leads me to my something good, which I meant to mention 2 weeks ago, and that is that my sister from Toronto and her husband flew out to be here for the work at our cabin. And so they arrived last Tuesday, and that night my 4 sisters and I got together for dinner at a restaurant. So we were together for the first time in, I think it's over 2 years. I think that's what we figured out. It'd been a while anyway. And yeah, it was, yeah, because it wasn't last July. It was the July before, she said. So yeah, over 2 years. We hadn't seen each other in person anyway. So that was great. We had a lovely, lovely dinner. And my mom ended up phoning during it and saying hello. And then, so when we did our fall birthday gathering, once again, all five sisters and then all five brothers in law were all together for that. And my mom ended up calling then too. So she got in on it a little bit. So that was fantastic. That was so good to see them both. And because we were up at the cabin doing stuff together, we got to spend a lot of time together, all of us. Yeah, that was just fantastic. So that's my something good. And I think that's it. I feel like a little bit scatterbrained in this last little section. I hope I've remembered everything I meant to say. Of potentially meeting a viewer at Knit City tomorrow. She's in the morning session. I'm in the afternoon session. It's someone recently became acquainted with, and we're actually sort of related. My aunt's longtime partner is her uncle, her dad's brother, and I've actually met her parents before. Also in the small world department, my mom used to be her mom's teacher. What can I say? We all grew up in what was then quite a small town. But we've never met, so we're hoping to at least get a chance to say hello tomorrow at Knit City. We kind of she knows what I look like, obviously. She's given me a description of her. I still have to nail down what I'm wearing so I can tell her, so she'll know at least to look for certain clothes. But I'm really struggling. I know it's a knitting thing and I should be wearing knitwear, but I also know that especially once I get inside, I'm going to be really warm and I'm not going to want a scarf or a sweater. So I'll probably just wear a top with maybe a jean jacket and maybe a little scarf I can wrap around just to say I wore some knitwear and then take it off when I get inside. I don't know. But anyway, looking forward to that because it was canceled last year. So something to look forward to. And I think that's it. So thanks for watching. I hope you are all going to have a good week. As long as things go as planned, I will most likely record next week. But then now that I say that, if today's Friday, well, yeah, if I go to Knit City, I'll have enough stuff to talk about next Wednesday and some things to show off. So I'm going to tentatively plan an episode for next Wednesday. If not, I'll probably do it the Wednesday following so I can get back into a Wednesday routine because that day really does work best for me. So now I'm going to say goodbye. I am going to go edit and upload and all that stuff. And let's see, it's now 20 after 3, so I should be able to do all that before Cameron arrives home this evening. Because once he's home, I don't want to be doing any of this stuff. Pardon me, any of this stuff. I'll just want to spend some time with him. So take care, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye for now.